Sup, my name is Ryu for the Yugioh Council. Welcome to the top 10 countdown of the top 10 cards in Invasion Vengeance, which is coming to the TCG in, I believe, November, if I'm not mistaken. So, we're still a whiles off, so basically this list will not count TCG exclusives or OCG imports, as that list will probably get its own whole thing. And before this gets underway, as we get closer, we'll do an entire set review on a special edition of Coffee Time. Now, with that said, let's get into the video. Anything you felt I left out, make sure to tell me down in the comment section below and we can discuss it, because it's cool, man. It's cool. So the first card we're going to talk about is Pot of Avidity. This one's not as stupid as that. So what this one does is, it's a different dimensional burial, but instead of putting 3 back into the graveyard, it puts 3 back into your deck, and then you draw a card. Now, some people may say, well, that's really dumb. Why the hell would you even mention it? That's garbage. Malicious, Plague Spreader, Unizombie, Shirayui Solitaire can abuse the Unizombie, sort of abuse the Plague Spreader with Unizombie, and Malicious pretty much goes without saying that if you banish it out, and you have 2 banished down and 1 in the graveyard, you're going to put those 2 back in, so it gets really dumb. It's not that every deck can utilize this card, but for the decks that can utilize this card, it's absolutely fantastic, and it's one of the most needed cards in a while. Because Different Dimension Burial has been limited for so freaking long, this is kind of a workaround. You're still not going to get quite what you would get with Different Dimension Burial, but at the same time, hey, it's not a half-bad replacement to say the least, so there's that. Moving on, I want to talk about Sideframe Multi-Thread. I know. I hate Sideframes. I've been very vocal about that much. If I haven't, well, there you go. Because it's a deck that doesn't allow you to play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's pretty much, oh, you want to play Yu-Gi-Oh? You can't today. But I have to put my feelings aside and talk about how good this card is for the archetype. So it counts as Driver, Sideframe Driver, which is the vanilla Sideframe. And if you called Prohibition on that, well, it hurts the hell out of the deck. And this does not help get around that. But however, it basically makes those Driver plays, if Driver gets banished, it makes it a lot more, you have a recovery system. So it counts as Driver in hand or in grave. So that's going to trigger off some Sideframes. And then if a Sideframe tuner is specialed, you can bring this back from your graveyard onto the board. It's level 6. I'm assuming that there's probably at least a few level 2 Sideframes. I know there is. I'm just messing around. There are tuners. And boom, you got Sideframe Mode Omega. Boom, you got Zeta. What more do you really want? You can pretty much access your entire extra deck if you can find someone willing enough to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With you when you're playing Sideframes, unless you're at a tournament. Because I'll be honest, Sideframes are a pain in the neck for most people to deal with, and I'm not going to deny that much. Alright, the number 8 spot goes to the brand new Teller Knight Exceed. However, it's not generic, but what it does is it helps out Teller Knights, and Teller Knights with Carved Demise are fantastic, but this just adds another thing. So it's not generic, and it makes all the monsters on the board dark. So why am I even bringing this up if that's a whole thing? It's a rank 4 that you could detach one Exceed from it, and then discard 1 card, and special summon from your extra deck 1 light Teller Knight with a higher rank. I believe it's a higher rank, which instantly gets you into those bigger Exceeds that you have. It basically allows you to go into those plays. It's another Exceed that you can use with the Teller Knight name. You could put that, God, I can't remember his name. You could put the Searcher into the graveyard, because when the Searcher comes back, while being special summoned by Altair, then you'll be able to search your deck out for another Teller Knight card. And from that, well, you get how the deck goes. It's going to keep going and going and going and going. So it just helps that whole archetype right there. Next card I want to talk about is our number 7 spot is Starve Fusion Venom. And this is the cover card of the set. And I know most times I don't really talk about cover cards, but things are changing here on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Council, always for the better. So 2 non-token dark monsters will net you this guy. You have to bring it out by fusion summoning, which I know that's very difficult nowadays. but his effect is very, very much worth it. If it's fusion summon, it gains attack from an opponent's special summon monster, and then if it's destroyed, you can destroy as many special summon monsters your opponent controls, which is fantastic for a deck like Lunalights, which are really kind of like low budgety deck outside of their Lore of Darkness. This card is so easy to bring out in that deck because they have a searchable way of getting to polymerization faster. You have a way of abusing it. You could also use it something like Destiny Heroes. Hell, I did, and it worked great. Stealing your opponent's monster's attack points may not sound like much, but reducing it and easing the game to get into that final push stage is always a grand thing and always a great thing at the same time. So that is my number... What number are we at? That is my number 7 spot. My number 6 spot actually goes to a Cyber Angel. It's a level 10. It's Vishki, 3000 attack, and must be ritual summoned by using a Machine Angel ritual card. If ritual summoned, you can destroy as many face-up monsters your opponent controls that were special summoned from the extra deck. And don't deny it, you know how many times there's going to be monsters on the board, and this just gives Cyber Angels that big, giant power, that big, giant OTK status, and it really pushes them through the roof, at least in my opinion. So, for every single one of those monsters that are destroyed, your opponent takes 1,000 for each one. That doesn't sound like much, but considering that this thing has 3,000 attack points, and if you do the burn damage and destruction, it has 2 attacks in that one turn, which is always fucking good. And of course, if your opponent activates a card, if your opponent activates a card that would destroy something on the board, you can shuffle one of your ritual monsters from the graveyard back into the deck, negate it, and destroy it. And that is ridiculous because all your resources go back into your deck, you can get them out again, and you're just constantly putting back your rituals to get into the next combo piece. I can't wait to deck profile this deck in all seriousness because they're freaking just good. And with this is going to give them more of a push. They're already topping. So you can imagine, I can't say for sure, but hell, they may be topping post-Invasion Vengeance. But having that thing on board and being able to blow up your opponent's monsters may not seem like much because of ABC Buster, because of Treat Toad, because of Danklaw, but trust me, there's plenty of other ways around those cards, and we're going to see that come out. We'll probably do a video of basically all the outs you can use for the upcoming meta. The next card I want to talk about, because I don't want to linger too long, is my number 5 pick is Dark Requiem Exceed Dragon. So basically, most of the times you can see this is in rank up decks, so get creative. But it makes monsters drop to 0 attack and then gains their attack points. So while it does not have the protection that like Utopia Lightning does, this thing can seriously just end games extremely quickly by itself. You're mostly going to see it in PK, Phantom Knights. And its monster effect, so walking effect filler that can negate a monster effect and then special summon Exceed from the graveyard, which again can lead to another rank up play. I'm not going to even deny it. Way back when this card was first revealed and released to YGO Pro, I was OTK'd by it. So I can't wait to see what people come up with this thing, because I honestly think a rank up deck that can abuse it is going to be in love with it, and I just can't wait to see what people come out with it, because it's going to be amazing. But there's 4 more cards that we still need to talk about, and those 4 cards are basically probably the best 4 cards in a long while that are generic or non-generic, and we're just going to go talking into it. So the first one is the new Xing Synchro, which is Xing Origin. I'm not going to even try to say his proper name there, because his proper name's a little bit of a pain in the ass, I'm not going to lie. But, so if special summon, you get to add a Xing card from your deck, and you can send Xings from your deck to change its levels according to the monster that you send from the deck to the graveyard. So, it only works in Xings, but it's generic. That's the thing. It's level 5, which is something that Xings don't have, but now do. It could search out their brand new counter trap card, which, ooh, it's a solemn judgment searcher. That alone, that alone screams, hello. If Yingzings weren't good enough before, they just became amazingly enough now. This adds a whole new layer of speed into Yingzings, and obviously most of you are understanding that because of the price rises that we're seeing every stock market. On top of this, you could combine the deck with Metaphors, get searches, get fucking the the Infinity Barrier, the Solemn Judgment, however you want to phrase it, that we did yesterday. You can get that, put it on your board, send this son of a gun to the grave, and well, go from there. Because you're going to shuffle the card back into the deck, that gets negated off the counter trap card, and go from there, because it's lovely. I could sit here all night, talk about the 100 plus combos we're going to see from this level 5 synchro, but I'd rather not. Here comes the number 3 spot, which is the other Yingzing card, the Solemn Judgment Yingzing card. 9 branches of the Yingzing. I cannot stress how good this is. This is the perfect support for Yingzings. Not only is it a Solemn Judgment that puts it back into the deck instead of just straight up destroying it, but on top of that, the only real cost is blowing up a Yingzing. And guess what? We like to blow up our monsters because when we do, we get a new monster replacement. Now, if you combine that with something like Supply Squad, which I do not recommend at all, because it's not good. Just saying, it's not good. You will draw a card, but the better version is Yingzing Creation, which then you get an additional Yingzing, and from that additional Yingzing, you make the level 5 again, and you get another 9 branches of the Yingzing. Those two cards are kind of intertwined with each other as they just have so much synergy that it just speeds up the deck and makes the deck way more powerful than it used to be, bring it up to at least tier 2 status. Where Yingzings a while ago were tier 3-ish, now they're tier 2. Or tier 1, depending on what version you're running, depending on how the meta plays out. I always like to say tier 2 if it's basically not in the big 4 category, which you're going to be talking about Monday. I'll elaborate more on that then, where basically it's got potential to top, but it may not top, and we don't know because there's like 12 big decks that all have contendership for that spot. Again, going to elaborate that on coffee time because that's going to be Monday's video. I'll leave it at that. Moving on from 9 branches is probably one of my favorite tech cards of the entire set. Is number 2 spot, Dimensional Boundary. You declare 1 card type. That could be Exceed, a Fusion, a Ritual, a Synchro, or a Pendulum. And then during this turn that's activated, neither player is allowed to special summon monsters of the declared type. You're literally shitting on your opponent's life. Also, any monsters of the declared type that are already on the board get negated. It's a stun card. It's great for anti-meta. The only thing it doesn't hit is effect monsters, which that really doesn't matter because unless it's a tribute deck, and even then you have Master Restricts, you really don't have to worry about it. And I mean, come on, think about it. This is going to be something that everyone should have their eyes on. If it's not a secret rare, then everyone should be scooping them up as soon as they come out. I'm being straight up honest when I say that. I honestly think this card has way more potential to be sighted in than most people are giving it credit for. It hits Cyber Angels, it hits ABC, it hits any Exceed deck, it hits any Pendulum deck, it hits any Synchro deck. It does not care. It's generic. There's no cost to activating it. You don't have to discard a card to activate. You just have to declare a type. And the second you know what your opponent's playing, you can literally stop the game state right then and there and poop on everything. Yes, it's slow because it's a trap card. And yes, if your opponent already established the board, all it is a overrated effect filler that some people may say, to be completely fair, and that may not be great for the format. I understand that. But if you're able to go first, you're able to get it to your hand. As most situations, it's just going to add another layer into the you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh category. And it's why I bring it up, because it is one of the best cards in the entire set. And now, number 1 spot, which should go without saying, Tree Toad. There has been it's been a while since we've had something so good like this that it has been an exceed where everyone wants to use it, but in technicality, you kind of got to reach a little bit to pull it in. And when I say that, you got to go Bahamut Shark if you're not playing a Ring 2 deck that focuses on water. And yeah, I'll give it to you guys. Bahamut Shark is gonna need to be banned way before we even need to worry about Tree Toad ever going lower than 3, sorry. The thing is, and the reason why Tree Toad seems so broken right now, not just for the fact that it's a sheer walking solemn judgment that could put itself back into the deck, but it's because it has an enabler in the form of Bahamut Shark that allows it to come to the board. I could sit here and explain the effect to you, but 99% of you already understand it. It's a walking solemn meant for frogs and is now being abused in about 8 different decks. And if it's a water deck, or a deck that can bring out Bahamut Shark, then you have access into Tree Toad, and that is going to be a problem by itself. And I guarantee you, unless the TCG and OCG stuff is so ridiculously over-the-top good, Tree Toad's going to be the most expensive card in the set. It doesn't take a genius to realize that. It just takes a little bit of foresight in seeing it, because it will happen. That's my top 10 of the top 10 cards of Invasion Vengeance. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I will see you guys on the next video. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoy the content you're new, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any videos, and I will see you tomorrow for more Yu-Gi-Oh goodness. Thanks for watching. I'm Ryu, and it's been a pleasure. Good night.